I scaled my agency from $0 to $1 million in annual revenue without spending a single dollar on marketing. No paid ads, no SEO agency, no influencer deal. We keep closing deals even in bear market while crypto is crashing and everyone is panicking. The reason is simple. We don't wait for clients to come to us, we go to them. I'm talking about cold outreach and cold outreach specifically on Telegram. Here are some screenshots of the conversations that we're having daily with our ideal clients, booking calls and closing deals. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the exact system that I use at my agency. So here's what we are going to be covering today. We'll be talking about what cold outreach is and why most people do it wrong. Then we'll be talking about why Telegram is the most underrated sales channel right now. Because you can do cold outreach on many different platforms like email, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on. But I'll be talking about why Telegram has been getting me good results and why you should consider looking at Telegram as well. Then we'll be talking about the entire process of going from creating an offer and all the way to closing deals. Because if you already have a process, good for you, you can watch and improve your process. But if you are someone who doesn't have a cold outreach process, in this video, I'm going to walk you through everything. I'm going to go through scripts, offer, finding and defining your ICP, creating your scripts, and then reaching out to them. And I'll also be sharing how I automate the whole thing for you, because in the beginning, I would suggest that you do it manually, because that's how you will learn and create a process which actually works for you, which gets you results, which are booking more calls or closing more deals and generating revenue. I'll also be sharing with you how you can track and improve these results over time. All right, so let's get into it. So what is cold outreach? Cold outreach is basically you reaching out to someone who does not know that you or your company exists and starting a conversation that leads to a closed deal. That's what cold outreach is. Cold outreach does not necessarily mean that you reach out to someone and send them a message like, hey, I wanted to connect. That's garbage and that will never work. So what is the cold outreach formula? So it includes that you reach out to the right person who is your exact ICP, right? These are the people who need the service or the product that you're providing. Then you have to reach out to them with the right message. It means that once you figured out who is the right person or who is the individual that will benefit the most from your service and they actually need them for either from your product or service, then you have to create the right message as well. And then the timing as well, right? Because if you're reaching out to someone and they don't have the need at that time, they will probably ignore you. And lastly, when you get these three things right, you get a closed deal. So reaching out to the right person with the right message and the right timing is what will help you close deals. So now before I get into the process, I want to talk about the platforms that we will be using for cold outreach, which is the Telegram platform. But you can do cold outreach on many different platforms like LinkedIn, email, and so on. But the thing is, in crypto and in Web3, people generally check out their emails, so they're not that much active, right? So even if you reach out via email, you will not get better responses. And we also look at some stats. We'll see that the open rate on email is 37%, LinkedIn 25%, cold call 80% people don't pick up. But in Telegram, open rate is 80%. So which means that if you're sending out 100 messages, at least 80 people will see the messages that you send. Same with the response rate. As you can see, 6%, 10%, and 5%, but on Telegram, it's 35%. And as I was talking about the spam filters on Telegram, there is one which the founders can keep, which is basically you have to pay them to message, but it's very rare. And most of the founders or decision makers that you're trying to reach out to, they have their DMs open. So as you can see that Telegram has a lot of unfair advantages as compared to other platforms. So if you do cold outreach in Telegram, it is guaranteed that you will get results. So now we will go over the process of the entire cold outreach that I use at my agency and that you can replicate to generate the same results, whatever your current condition is, which is not having a system, not generating enough revenue, or not booking enough calls, or not closing deals. By following this 8-step process, you will reach a position where you are consistently booking calls, closing deals, and generating revenue. So the first part of the process is building your offer. So whatever your product or service or whatever it is, it has to be defined into an offer. Once we have offer locked in, we define your ICP. ICP stands for Ideal Customer Profile. These are the people or companies or individuals who will benefit the most from your product or service, and they are the people that will pay for it. Then you write a script, because we are reaching out to them through a channel, which is a communication channel like Telegram in this specific video. So we need to have a script that we can send them. And we're not just sending one individual, we'll be sending to hundreds of individuals. So we need to have a script. Then once we have a script, we need to find the Telegram handles, right? So just like we have WhatsApp numbers and we have emails, similarly we have Telegram handles. So I'll explain you how you can find these handles easily. Once we are sending messages, you can optimize for two things, which is that you can either book a call, or if your service or product is very small ticket size, I think in anything below $2,000 is something that most people would pay without even talking to you. So that is something that you can decide based on what works for you. And then the seventh part of this process is automating, which means that once you have everything logged in, you need to automate it, and then you need to increase the volume, and then we need to continuously improve it. All right, so that's the 8-step process. Let's get into it. The first part we're talking about is we'll create an offer, right? Now, what I see with most companies and most individuals that are trying to do cold outreach is that they have a very weak offer, right? So let's talk about my context at my agency, right? Which is we are a Web3 development studio, we build products. Now, the offer that I was using in the past was something like we build smart contracts and dApps for your project, right? This was our offer. It's just a service description. There is no outcome mentioned, there is no timeline, there is no proof, and no reason to respond. So if I send some message like, hey Jack, I'm Talha from thelikes.com, we build smart contracts, do you need any help, right? It's very generic. Yes, people might reply, but your chances of getting a reply is very low. Right? But on the other hand, what I learned after spending so much time on improving my offer is that you have to have a specific outcome. Like in this video, why you're watching this video, because there is a specific outcome that by watching this video you will have a process that you can use to generate leads for your company, right? So you have a process, there is an outcome, a specific defined outcome. Similarly, even in your offer, you need to have a specific outcome. Then there should be a clear timeline. So once you have defined that this is the outcome that they will be getting, how long will it take for them, right? Then you need to have a proof. Then there should be a low friction CTA, and it should end with a question, right? So as you can see in this example, we have first the weak offer, which is build smart contracts for your project. But now we help pre-TGE projects, right? Which is specific ICP, and then launch their token infrastructure. This is the outcome in under 30 days, which is the timeline, fully audited and fully compliant. These are like the perks. And then proof. We have done it for 15 plus projects. I would normally add names as well. So like the big names that we work with in your industry. And then there is basically a low friction CTA. Want to see how it would look for your project. If someone receives this cold message on their Telegram or even on their platform, they'll reply short, right? It doesn't hurt them to reply to this as compared to the first one. So the formula that you need to keep in mind in your offer is that, first of all, you need to understand that people have a very low attention span these days, right? Every day we are bombarded with so much information across all different channels, and we can't keep in mind, right? And every individual in this planet is always thinking about himself or herself, like what is it I can get, right? So when you are crafting your offer, you have to keep in mind that you have to keep it short, right? Your goal should be to start a conversation, not sell. You don't sell in the first message, right? Because I've seen most people make the mistake that they will give everything in the first message. There is no mystery, there is no curiosity, like, okay, I would just ignore it, right? But if there is like, you're reaching out to me and framing the offer in such a way that will benefit me, I would definitely respond, right? When you're creating your offer, you have to have a specific outcome. So if you're a marketing company, you're a designing company, whatever it is, right? Your product or service, doesn't matter, but you need to have a specific outcome. Once you have a specific outcome, you need to have a clear timeline, and then you need to have a proof that, okay, whatever you're selling actually gets result. And then you should have a simple question that people should respond easily. So once you have your offer locked in, right, then you will move on to defining who your ICP is. The easiest way to find who your ICP is basically just looking at the people that you're currently serving or the people that you work with in the past, right? If they're an individual, if they're a company, like specific, let's say I'm talking about the process that I use at my agency, right? We provide, our offer is that we build products in a certain timeline, in a certain way that gets them a certain results. Our ICP are pre-TGE, pre-token generation event projects or early stage startup that have funding, have a real team, and have a launch deadline, right? What they might not have is a development team. Then what problem do they have right now? In our case is that they need technical help fast. They don't have the time to hire in-house developers or talk to a lot of different agencies. They need someone who is capable to build their products fast. budget signals, right? Have the raise funding. So remember in the previous step, I talked about right timing. So in our case, for our agency, the right timing is when people have raised funding. Then what would make them say yes, right? So as we talked about in our offer is that you need to have a specific outcome, timeline, proof. See, the tighter your ICP is, the better response rate you will have. So what it means is that if you're trying to sell football shoes to a construction worker and construction shoes to football workers, you'll have terrible results, right? But if you're trying to take the football shoes in a football ground where people are playing football, you will have better chances of selling those shoes, and same for the construction shoes as well. Next, we'll move on to the scripts, right? So once you know, okay, what I'm selling, whom am I selling to, then you come to the scripts, right? There are general rules and frameworks that we can follow to do it, right? One is that it should be short, personal, and end with questions, right? Because again, if you send a big block of text to someone, they'll probably just ignore you. And if you sound like everyone else, they will ignore you. Here's one example. Hey name, saw specific thing about their project or announcement. We help, ICP description, achieve specific outcome. Curious, are you looking for relevant thing? Right? They might say yes or they might say no. If they say yes, then there is a way to handle it. If they say no, there is another way to handle it. But generally, you have to keep your message short, personal, and it should end with a question. Reference something specific about them, right? Even one line. This means that this will show to them that you have actually taken the time to done research on them. Then lead what you do for people like them. Lead for like what kind of outcome or value you can give them, and then always end with a clear question. Once they respond, don't send another block of text, right? Talk to someone like you'll talk to a friend, right? You're trying to understand what their problem is. So there are a few things that you should not do when creating their script, right? Do not explain your company in the first message. Do not send a link. Do not send a PDF or a deck. And don't say like, hey, how are you? So once you have the offer, the ICP, and the script locked in, the next step is basically finding the Telegram handles. Now, there are a couple of ways you can do it. One is that you can do it manually by going to different platforms and searching for the Telegram handles. Most people might have it on their website. But if in order to save time, I've built a tool that can help you do this. The tool that I've built is called TG Username Finder. It's called tgfinder.xyz. I'll give a link in the description. So in this example, I will use an example of an Ethereum L2 called Rise Chain. So these are our ICP. So as you can see, that this will tell me that this is the founder and this is their Telegram. I'll click on the Telegram handle and this will open up Telegram for me. Once you have Telegram handles with you, what is the next step? So the next step is sending messages. So on Telegram, if you have an account, you can stick to 20 to 30 per day. If you send out 20 to 30 cool messages every day on Telegram, your account will not be flat. You will be thinking that, okay, how do I increase volume? Because that's what I talked about. So in that case, what you do is you buy multiple Telegram accounts, and that is easily doable. You can buy, 10, 20, 30, 40, how many ever accounts that you want. In our case, we use 10 to 20 accounts at any given time. The first message, you have to personalize it. So you remember the script that we have created. So you need to personalize it, and the way you personalize it by adding their name or adding any information that is relevant to their project. And then once you have sent the first message, if the other person has replied, good. If they don't reply in most cases, then you can follow up with them after 2 or 3 days with a follow-up script. All right, so we have covered the entire process, which is creating an offer, then defining your ICP, then creating scripts, then finding the Telegram handles either manually or using the tool that I've built. And once you have those handles, sending messages. I've also shared with you how you can send messages. And once you have sent a message, once the lead replies, you have to deal with them either by getting them on a call, which is the recommended way if your ticket size is really high, or you can just sell on text. And once you do that, you continuously improve the process. Now, once you do that, you need to improve the reply rate, right? So the reply rate can be improved by either increasing the volume or by fixing one of the previous few things. Once you increase your volume, then you get better at reply handling. So which means that once you get a reply, you need to make sure that you handle it in such a way where they will get on a call with you. Now, when it comes to automating it, right? There are 2 parts of the process that you can mainly automate it. One is basically lead building, which you can do it either by using the tool that I've built, or you can build your own custom tool, or you can hire an SDR or get someone from your team to do it, right? Because that is where most of your time will be consumed. But in the beginning, I would recommend you do it yourself. But once you have figured it out, once you're getting results, then I would recommend you hire someone or you automate it to do that. So that is one part that can be automated. And the second part is the volume part, the reaching out part. So I'm building my own tool for that. Currently, I am using a tool called Enreach tool, but it has its own limitation. That is why I'm building my own tool. But you can check that out. It can help you scale your volume. You can connect multiple accounts and you can send, hundreds of thousands of DMs per day. As I've showed you a couple of examples in the beginning, I will show you some examples. So here's, you can see my BD reaching out to one of the guys by using the script that this is the script that we have used, and then they replied. And then as you can see, they will say that you have contacted me at the perfect time. They need some front-end work. And my BD tried to book a call. We booked a call, and then once my business developer booked a call, I got on a call. I understood what they need, and it turned out into actual dollars. So in this example, it was different. In this example, the founder posted that they are looking for developers. So we used the same process. We reached out to them, and the founder replied, and we got on a call, and this turned into a long-term relationship. But the point is, this process worked. I have used this process to scale my agency from $0 to $1 million in annual revenue, and you can do it too. All right, so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about Cold Outreach on Telegram or any other platform, feel free to drop it down in the comments and I'll be more than happy to answer it. See you in the next video.